Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Parent Advocate Network through the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. We are having a board meeting, I suppose you'd call it, and we are waiting for all members to join up. I did send out a link, and so did Misty, and we're going to hopefully be having a constructive discussion on formation and implementation of better ways to help families across the country and across the world, and talk about how we're going to do this together in a very organized and strategic manner. And that's the whole nuts and bolts of it. And I hope that everybody is able to join us here in a constructive conversation. We will be waiting shortly. Misty will be here, I'm sure, and a few other people. And Francine, thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to see you here this evening. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to put some focused energy on this. Yes, Francine is here, and there was another person that joined for a moment, but I think she was confused because I had meditation music on and I was waving. But hey, you know.
Do you remember the name at all?
For the love of life or living, it was a long name. It wasn't a person's name.
I wonder if it was Amazing Stephanie. I invited her.
No,
let me see.
No, I would think that she'd probably understand that I wanted to start the meeting out with a meditation.
Excuse my face, but
Wow.
I just see that it's now turning yellow.
That's
underneath.
That's Have you been taking?
Let me. What?
The exercises that I taught you with your arm pulling it back behind you with the wall. Have you been doing that one?
No, I can. That is a motion I can do at the moment. Let's see. I just want to see if anybody's messaged me real quick.
Hi, Francine. Francine raised your hand, so I think if you're going to do that, we could see what Francine wanted to talk about. Is that okay?
There's Sunflower Shanti. Did Sunflower Shanti?
No. Here, hi, Francine. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I unmuted you. Maybe there's a disconnect with your speaker. I don't know. You're unmuted. So, and do you know that you can go down to the bottom and also there will be a screen, a bar that pops up at the bottom of your screen, and it'll say mute, unmute, video, participants, Q&A, poll, share screen, chat. Click on chat, and then you'll have a little screen on your side that'll come up, and you can actually put statements or comments in there as well if you are unable to get voice on your end.
I'm sharing this call here.
Okay.
We'll see if in a couple specific groups, we'll see if anybody joins us more.
So tell me, have you spoken with Deborah about the use of the blue ribbon?
You know, she's here. We're in discussions about it for sure. And I would hate to speak for her. And she probably wouldn't just jump on here at the moment. But maybe for a future conversation, we could talk more about that.
Okay.
Let me see if she is here. She may have gone off. Deborah? How you doing, honey? Hold on, let me mute.
Okay. For those of you who just come, we are here to discuss ways to keep families together and stop the tyranny of government officials in taking our children away from us for no reason at all. Welcome to the group. Hi there. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Who are you talking to? You have to like introduce each person and call them out by name, like whoever to go first. I don't want to go first.
Desktop here has just come on.
Razor Desktop? Okay.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Misty. Hi, Francine. And you're definitely not Doron Kuka.
My name is
Lyra.
Lyra.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. What's your name?
I'm Ray.
Ray. Nice to meet you, Ray.
Yes.
Glad you could come on this call.
Yeah. So you're there with Doron?
No, it's his source account, and I'm one of the.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
no
one
problem.
of the coordinators, so to speak. So.
Okay. She has a show, and so she, for now, uses Doran's account to host it through, because she can do it like this very easily. Cool. Until things change.
Yeah.
So, right. Yeah.
Cool to know, totally irrelevant to this conversation, I guess. But, yeah, no, Misty and I got talking. Oh, man, every time I get on a meeting, I have to actually see myself. Then I want to.
Don't worry about it. It's not that bad.
Why am I so greasy? I didn't know I was greasy. Anyway, Misty and I were talking. You know, I've been through the courts. It was pretty hardcore battle. A lot worse than some, not nearly as bad as some, but my experience as an activism and, you know, amateur lawyer basically has led me down the road of discovery and what's going on. And I'll see a lot of the patterns, which, you know, I see outside of, I see generally in government, not just in custody and family dispute issues. But anyway, it led me to ultimately put up parentalequality.org, which based on this discussion, I went ahead and I let the domain expire. The site had been up for like a year and a half, but I let the domain expire and went ahead and re-registered it. Did $10, whatever, to put that back up. And really the approach I was taking towards the end is like, okay, there's a lot of things we can do to talk about what's in the best interest of children. And while we're doing that, and while we're really getting to the bottom of, is one of these parents really, really destructive to the children's life? Then we start from a place of 50-50. And the first thing that should happen in court is the judge says, okay, you guys are here, 50-50 schedule. If you can't agree on it, then I'll choose it for you. So suggest you figure it out. And that should be about, in my opinion, unless there's like obvious, it's got to be a really high bar of evidence that the child is really in danger in some way. And if that is the case, then yeah, something needs to be done. But largely assuming that that this is in fact the child of these two parents, and there is in fact a relationship that exists, that both parents are going to have, 50-50 and start from that point. And so, I don't know what the exact wording of the law is. I've worked with a bunch of people who are putting together suggested legislation. It's 50-50 is not going to be applicable all the time for sure. But that was kind of my approach. That seemed like the most important thing to me. And then just trying to, perhaps I put up this site as a means by which we could start to look for patterns and what are the most abused, what are the most abusive judges perhaps, or what are the most common situations where people are feeling abused.
Do you want to share your screen, Ray? Do you know how to share your screen?
Okay, yeah, I could, sure. Let me share screen.
What I just shared with everybody was what the Child Welfare Department has for their definition of in the best interests of the child. And they don't really have it specific. It's not a specific definition. It's based on each judge's interpretation of the words.
Exactly. And that's the scary part.
That is a very scary part that we need to look at as well. So, okay. This is a form you put together?
Yeah, so this is just a little WordPress site. And like I said, I let the site go down because essentially I guess what happened is once I won, which for a father with an alternative lifestyle, winning means 50-50. So,
yeah.
So I won. I kind of was just, then my attention went to being a dad, and I didn't have as much time to put into pursuing this. So this is a site that anybody could take over. If this group wants to take it over, I'd be glad. It's a WordPress site. It's really easy to work on. What I was trying to do is collect some data, look for patterns while we're offering individual support. I've spent many hours on the phone with many people offering individual support that have filled out these forms. But other than that, I was looking for patterns. So I asked questions like, I wanted to get their jurisdiction, obviously. Tell us what is unjust in your custody case. No joint custody. So there's a bunch of check boxes. No joint. You can see my screen, yes?
Yes.
No joint custody, less than 50-50.
Yes. But you can keep reading.
Gender bias. Yeah. Gender bias, false domestic violence claims, false child abuse claims, broken court orders, parental alienation, and unreasonable child support. And then the other thing I thought was useful is a judge-attorney report. So we could look if there's any one judge or something that's just particularly generating tons of problems. We could potentially rally around that. So we look for jurisdictions and judge names, I guess, and attorneys as well. So it could be attorneys, not just judges, but if an attorney is particularly, or even a, Misty, like in your case, you had the court-appointed.
Well, there's guardian ad litems for the children.
Ad litem, yeah.
And there's also, there's supposed to be parent workers, at least in some states, but they aren't, parent advocate workers, but they're not really parent advocates. They're still paid by the state, and so they still follow the same rules and guidelines that the rest of the social workers follow.
Right.
Discerning information and what they put down in their paperwork and stuff. So.
Right. Which means they're biased as usual, whether it be a money influence or just their own personal experience, because one of the parents reminds them of somebody they don't like.
Right.
Be the victim of either one of these things. And so anyway, that is And I was, of course, my angle on it was very much from the father's rights perspective. And, the funny thing was about that is that we had just as many women coming into the father's rights movement because we were a powerful force. We were making a difference, and that movement still is. And we have, just as many women coming around, and they're welcome. They're welcome too. And so for whatever reason, it's still being called father's rights. And that's where I just went the direction of parental equality, because I realized that, even if you did some study and it seems like the fathers are complaining more than the mothers, it's really not the point. The point is that bias can happen either way. So anyway, that's what I had to offer, and that's why I thought I might jump on this call and share that. And I'm sure there's a lot of other great work going on out there, and I don't mean to take up a lot of time.
No, that's fine, Ray. Thank you. And that's great. And the whole idea here is to bring people together with their individual talents and focuses, because the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Family is about bringing all the different parts together. Because the way that I see it, and other parent advocates that I've spoken with see it, this is a multi-headed Medusa monster that we are in battle with. And we cannot just take it from one angle. We have to take it from many different angles all at the same time. And that's why I put together the Parent Advocate Network, is to provide a place for parents to actually talk and discuss what our plans are individually and how we can each help each other. And I have other parents in Southern California that have other programs that they want to join the coalition and work together, and we all just take a part of this so that none of us is overwhelmed in this fight anymore, because people are arguing about what the best tactic is. People are disagreeing on what our real true human rights are, and how many of parents are being discriminated and violated in human rights. This is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights I'm sharing here. This is a law binding document for the United States and for all agencies in the United States. They have to follow these guidelines. There's no question about it. Every state signed and it made this agreement, and there's actually 30 articles in this declaration. And then people are having arguments about how the Convention of the Rights of the Child is maybe taking parental rights away because of what happened in the case with the baby who was in England somewhere just recently. Remember the case where the baby was going to be kept in the hospital even though the parents wanted to bring it to America to save its life? And the hospital held jurisdiction over the matter and kept the child from being able to have this experimental procedure done in the United States. Now, I have some issues with that whole situation, but the point is that there are people out there who are saying that the reason the baby stayed in the hospital is because the hospital's lawyer used the language on the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and that's how they removed parental rights. And it says at the beginning of that they can't, the parents are the main providers for the children. So, I mean, I feel that there's a lot of misinformation right now.
If you wouldn't mind putting it back up,
I'm sorry.
Read. Yeah.
I was a little fast there.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So here we go. See, right down here, this is what it says in paragraph 5. it says, convinced that the family
Or
has
the necessary
fundamental,
protection.
huh?
So the lawyer was using the clause should be afforded the necessary protection. The hospital claims they were protecting the child from this dangerous decision the parents wanted to make.
Right. But the whole paragraph states that it's a fundamental right for parents to take care of their own children. Like this is, it says here that they need to be afforded the necessary protection and assistance so that it can fully assume its responsibilities within the community. That the family is the fundamental group of that. It's the whole statement. You can't just take out
Right.
a piece of the statement and say, well, we're doing this. That's just totally wrong. It's a
I
whole
agree.
paragraph. So, that was, I just got,
Yeah, it is talking about the family
yeah.
having protection, the family having protection,
Yes.
not any one member of the
No.
protection, the family itself. And the
It's,
leaders of the family
is
are
the fundamental group. Period. Yeah. Hello. I'm
Say, Lyra, this is my good friend and sister, Stephanie. And Stephanie, are you there, sweetie? Thank you, everybody, for coming. So glad.
Yes,
Thank you for having
Hi.
Thank you, love.
me.
So this is Lyra, and this is Ray, and we were just kind of introducing ourselves and talking about what we've done in the past a bit, what we're doing now. And I don't mean to like put you on the spot or anything, but I'll just tell you that like I've known Stephanie for like over 3 years now. We have never talked in person, but we've talked over the phone a lot and through calls and whatnot. But she had a really horrendous thing happen and experience for her with family court and corruption with GALs and stuff. And her story is one of those that is, you think not as bad as some. Stephanie, what happened with her is that, not, situation you wouldn't want to have happen. So I love you, Stephanie. Thank you for joining us so much.
Thank
How are you doing?
I'm great today. I have the young ones around me, so I was going to mute my microphone. Hi. They say hi.
Hi, beautifuls.
So yeah, I'm glad that I finally got up. And I missed a little bit, but I'm glad to be here right now. So what were we going over?
Well, hi, Stephanie. So this is Lyra, and what I was just talking with Ray and Misty about was that there seems to be confusion with people in understanding our rights and our human rights and our civil rights, and there's a lot of arguments happening over the issue that that baby in Europe who was kept in the hospital. There are people who've been talking about how the lawyer for the hospital used the Convention on the Rights of a Child as a way to keep the child in the hospital. And if you look at the Conventions on the Right of the Child, which I was just sharing, it's talking about the whole family unit as the fundamental, it's convinced that the family as the fundamental group of society and the natural environment and growth for well-being of all its members, and particularly children, should be afforded the whole family needs to be afforded this, okay? This isn't just a part of the family. This isn't just the child. This is the whole family should be afforded the necessary protection and assistance so that it can fully assume its responsibilities within the community. And this is, what we're looking at here is that people are seeing only parts of this information. They're not getting the full grasp and depth and understanding of the language that's here that talks about the family being the fundamental unit, the fundamental group, and that we tend to see that our government does not regard parental rights as fundamental rights, even though the United States government ratified the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1992, and the 12th article in this declaration states that we have freedom from interference with privacy, family, home, and correspondence. This is an unmutable agreement. You cannot get out of this agreement, but we find that this is not the case in our country, and not the case in many other countries who have also ratified this declaration. So that's what we've been talking about.
Okay. I just had a quick question, or maybe I wouldn't call it a question. But what I've been seeing is, or what I've noticed, is that yes, the declarations are in place, but when we decide as parents, or even our parents, when we have our children and bring them into this realm, we sign the birth certificate and get them social security cards. So when we do that, we are giving them permission over this, over our lives and over the say of our children. We're acknowledging their power and saying, here you go, you get to make the call on these young lives that I just brought in. I'm not saying that's right, but that's what has happened. It's what's continuously going to happen until we become aware that this is what's happening. Like, this is what it is.
Yes, a lot of parents end up signing these agreements not knowing what they're signing. And there are laws in place where it actually allows for parents to withdraw their signature from any contract at any time by putting a rescind letter in at court. Okay, so that includes birth certificates and social security numbers and all of that. There's laws that provide for this. These are the things we're talking about, is educating parents about how to get out of the traps that we've been led into. How to Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, part of that education in my mind is the piece that, a lot of times winning in court isn't about the law, it's about likability, and somehow find a way to have that judge like you. And oftentimes going in with a jurisdictional argument right off the bat is sure a way to pick a fight with that judge. So part of the advisement I give in any of that stuff is, tread carefully. Don't necessarily go in with a head full of steam ready to make a jurisdictional argument. And in other words, that's what I'm saying. We'd be making the courts. You're saying that you go in arguing the court doesn't even have jurisdiction to make these decisions. And with the power these judges have in family courts, a lot of the time, that's just a sure way to make sure you don't see your kids for quite a while. Because they're instantly. So, and from a legal standpoint, it's probably a really powerful argument that can be won if the lawyer decides to let you be, if the judge wants to let you make the argument.
Right.
And if a lot of these times we go in for a restraining order, and then we wind up in family court stuff, and we can't argue the non-jurisdictional thing, because if we included our kids in the restraining order, then that's when we signed over permission for the court to make decisions for us. So that a lot of times is the entry point where we gave the power away.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But didn't know that what, it's like if we'd have been sufficiently warned, we maybe would have found another way,
Sufficiently warned, right? That's
Yeah.
parents who haven't yet been trapped. But, and that's where we work on educating parents about their rights as parents, as humans. And
Right. And the experience I've had points me to the lead that led to believe that most courts think they have jurisdiction if one parent gives it to them.
so how would you then deal with that issue?
You'd have to argue that, clearly both parents would have to give jurisdiction to the court. And, I think that's a tough one for sure. If one does give it.
Seems it should have to be both, and then it would need to be settled. If one says, nope, not going to do it, then there'd need to be some kind of settlement hearing on that issue, how to proceed.
In Virginia, I don't mean to cut you all off, but in Virginia, when we had, we went about the whole order of protection and all of that, what did they tell me? They told me I had to claim my children, even though, I'm the mother, I'm on the birth certificate. I didn't know how powerful all this stuff was at the time that I did it, but they told me I had to claim my children. And so I did that. And then somehow it was just, everything was all mixed up. And then, the dad had his rights, and then I had so-called, my rights as far as mom goes. And it was just a big mess. It's all a big mess.
That it is.
When I had my children removed, the thing that happened was I had full and permanent custody of my children at the time. My children were removed after I became a victim of domestic violence and was unable to protect myself or my children. I mean, how can you protect anybody when you're a victim of domestic violence?
Right.
So I didn't have housing, I didn't have friends, and I was stuck in a bad situation. And CPS decided that the best thing to do would be to take my children and tell me, think of this as a vacation. And then they started allowing my ex-husband to have the same rights as I did. So it doesn't, it's like these courts and these agencies, they can change even a judge's order just so that they can fuck it with you, I think.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't have, it's not their job basically to have compassion or to remove themselves from their job and place themselves in the person's shoes that, the case that they're supposed to be helping is not about that. So my heart, is with you. I can't imagine, it's I'm breathtaking about a lot of stuff that I'm realizing, but we have to move forward with power to the people. like you said, we educate the parents, let them know, before they even go into the courthouse that, okay, this is what you're signing up for, and are you prepared for that, or is this the vote you want to take? And then options are also great. Like, we could tell them, if you sign these papers, this is what will happen, but what will be their next option to help them feel at peace with their next decision?
Right. I agree. And I've been working on these parental rights booklets. That's what I was showing you from earlier. This is one of the key things I think that people don't know is, what their rights are. I'm sorry, that's a little bit bigger than it's supposed to be. Here, that makes more sense. So, this is just Arizona, and I started with Arizona because they have adapted the Parents' Bill of Rights in 2015. And this state has also got the record number of children being removed from parents for little to no reason, even today, to this date. And there are people up in arms in this state, people going to jail because they're speaking out against this atrocity. and people are being slapped with gag orders all over the place for just expressing their civil rights and their human rights and how they're being taken advantage of. And I am working to get all states their own specific, because each state has specific language in parental rights, or not parental rights, but even just the laws in the Constitution of the state that discriminate against parents with disabilities and put them in the same category as parents who are addicts and drug users. And so then there's not requirements for determining whether or not a parent is fit to take care of their children. They'll have social workers say that a parent is not fit. And that's enough for a judge. And it should not be enough for a judge.
Yeah.
Should not be.
Yeah, that for fit parent stuff, well-being of the, best interests of the child stuff is like, it's just way too vague. And, it occurred to me today, and just thinking about, being on this call and discussing these issues again, it's like, what is, like it occurred to me, if a parent is that bad, then there's surely a criminal act going on. And if there's a criminal act going on, then charge them and have the DA charge them with a crime, and let it be handled just like any other crime. And I know even the criminal justice system has, don't get me started there. I've had plenty of experience there. It has its flaws too, but it doesn't allow for the just blatant bias regarding this idea that the judges get to determine who's in the best interest, who's the better parent, essentially, based on hearsay, or hearsay is not the legal term, but based on the opinions or the descriptions of one side that comes into court, based on accusations, I guess I should say, unfounded accusations, and the judge is going to make a decision based on that. If there's some kind of founded accusations, you can convene a grand jury and decide whether there should be charges in criminal activity, or obviously the police can be called and they can determine whether there was criminal activity and proceed that way. And if there's a criminal charge, the parent in some way affecting the child in such a way that it's a criminal act, now we're talking about potentially a situation for removing the children from that parent. But other than that, that's just one idea that occurred to me. Maybe that's kind of the line that could be drawn, because like you were saying, Lyra,
Lyra.
yeah, we need to have some, like, we have to be able to agree as a community to be effective in changing the system. We have to have some points that are kind of universally agreed on, or at least by a vast majority of the people who are passionate about this topic. So
agreed.
Absolutely.
So, I feel like, though, the problem is that if you're dealing with a potentially violent individual, then the threat of police involvement and so on can cause fear, and then they can react in a harmful way out of fear, which, that comes up a lot and is why more people don't report things. So I wish that there was another system that could intervene quickly, see what's going on, calm the situation, assure that no matter what's going on, parental rights are going to be honored, but we need to evaluate what the situation is, or whatever, where the threat isn't there that somebody's going to take your kid from you, or somebody's going to force something on you, or take away your rights, or threaten you with jail time. Oh my gosh, now you lost it once, and do you need to go to jail and have all your rights taken away from you because you had a moment, and it's like the punishment should fit the crime. And I'm just saying that I like your idea. I felt that way too. Like, the only place it seems to go right now at this moment in time would be that I feel that could still be corrupt, would be to the police, to the whoever you make a complaint about assault or about whatever, threats or abuse. But the two places, family court and CPS, don't seem appropriate anymore at all. You don't know what could happen after you made a small complaint or report, thinking it would get looked into. The punishment could be worse than whatever's going on within the family.
Right. This is true. It'll come to us. I'm sure that there's other people in the network that, so when we come together as a team, everybody is great at something, but not everybody's great at everything. So we put all our, greatness out there. What are you right here? What are you great at? What do you, have knowledge in here? And then we start to assign, I guess, certain roles to certain people in our communities and just go about it that way. But there's going to be a period in the transition to where, it may get a little wee over here and there sometime. But ultimately, as a human race, there is much healing that needs to be done so that we don't continue to invite realities like this onto our paths where we're dealing with, all of what we've experienced,
Indeed.
Yes, agreed.
Agreed.
And I think that one of the things that we need to be looking at is communities that are more closely knit and kind of along the intentional community line, but being able to have and allow for families in a safe environment. I know that there are some intentional communities that are that way, but some are not. And, we have a lot of people out there who want to see a different world and want to create a different world without this pain and harming. No harm. We don't want harm. And it's important, I believe, that we work with intentional communities in creating more child-safe, family-safe environments in the structure of those intentional communities to help, because, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's the children that will inherit the earth. It's always the children that will inherit the earth, whatever trauma, whatever pain, whatever prosperity, whatever cooperation, all of these, the children are the ones that are going to be the ones taking over in the end. And we're here to talk about and try to smooth that path for our children and our children's children. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that struck an idea in my head that if there does appear a situation where there's likely something that really does need some more investigation, and that there's a good chance these children are in some kind of danger, instead of taking the children away from the parents, why not put them into like a community housing? And
bingo.
Yeah, so you're
put
gonna
them
live
in with a family. Put them in with families and
gonna live
good environment, and
there will be light shined on your situation. And if one of the parents is afraid to do that, or willing to do that, then I think that says a lot. If you care about your kids and you want to see your kids, at least you now have the opportunity to do that, to live mostly normal as you were living, on a day-to-day basis, just in a different location and with other families.
And the church, if a church or church land, like some of these communities are looking to be, declared churches, they can say they're taking in the family to help and they're taking care of them, and legally they can do that. And it's like, families are seeking kind of refuge and whatever care under the church. And that's really what I've been looking for, is where are such places, and are there places who want to become that in part at least. Good enough for families to be in. Good enough for our future to be in. And
I think it's kind
maybe
of
we
the
can help repair some
responsibility.
damage.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the responsibility of communities to take on that role of being able to provide those spaces. Yeah, there are going to be parents who have addiction problems, but just because a parent is addicted doesn't mean they don't love their child, doesn't mean that they don't want to change. Addiction is a serious disease. It's hard for people to remove themselves from addiction, no matter how many times they are clean and sober. A lot of them end up addicted again, and so then this opens up a whole other aspect of bringing it back to the family, helping strengthen the family unit, and providing services that are to help parents who have addiction problems, really help them, not just put them in a room with all these other addicts to talk about their addicted days. I think that kind of nostalgia actually sets addicts up to want to use again a lot of the time. So that's, I think, a different type of strategy needs to be used or creative.
Yeah. And in this situation we're talking about, I envision a large central area where most of the time is spent with semi-private, quarters for sleeping. And, obviously you need privacy for the bathroom, but security officers around, counselors everywhere. And if there's any sign of anything that needs assistance, then all the support is right there. And, obviously drug use isn't going to be, so since there's not much privacy, there won't be open drug use going on. There can't be. And if one parent is so into their drugs, they now have the decision point. Am I going to be present for my kids, or am I going to go do that? Because I won't be able to do them together anymore. So it would require a lot of really passionate, big-hearted, skilled people to work in that environment, but there's plenty of them out there. And, of course, doing anything through the current government bureaucracy, even if they take a brilliant idea with this, by the time it got implemented 10 years from now under the current way things operate, they would manage to find a way to screw it all up. So, but it is an idea. It's something that's planted a seed in my head from this discussion, at least. And I was going to use, since I'm talking, I'll just say, I don't know if we had a specific agenda or anything here, and I don't have a ton of time. And just wanted to say that largely, if I could support in this kind of advisement or idea capacity from time to time, and I can certainly, if there's any webmastering and things like that to help with on any level, I can help with that kind of stuff. And for the most part, I have a very full plate, but did at least want to make this call in honor of Misty and our discussions.
And I really appreciate you joining us this evening, Ray. And if you get a chance, check out coalitionforprotection.com. I'll give you the address link. This is our site that I was developing in February. Do you got it up?
I'm pulling it up.
It's the number
Coalition.
4. It's not FOR. It's the number 4, protection.com. And
Eh.
Yeah, I can help you with that already. I can get the FOR version for you and forward it over if you want.
yeah, that would be
There's
You know-
another one. It's called the National Coalition for Protection of Children and Families that I thought we should look at if you haven't already.
That's
That pops up when I do a search.
I know there's a Native American Coalition for Protection of Children and Families.
Now there's a national one. I just found it today.
Protection of...
Oh, that's coming out the site. Okay. The site's playing music.
I'll check that one
So,
out.
I mean,
So,
what I was hoping for in this connection, because I know we need help with webmastering and some other things, and, it's one of those things that maybe just a little bit of time could mean an enormous amount for us. So if there were things you could help us out with, Ray, we'd appreciate it. Totally knowing that you don't have a lot of time, but keep track of that and stuff for us so we know what you do, or if you have referrals of other people. But I was hoping to be able to share this video with some other people who do have some time and ideas and stuff that maybe they can, if they see this, ideas pop in their heads.
Right on. I'd be honored to help. Anything we can do to see their children are getting raised lovingly by their parents as often as possible.
So I'm looking at the National Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families, and this has to do with the mission of the National Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families is to move the people of God to embrace, live out, preserve, and advance the truth of biblical sexuality. So that's not exactly what our mission is. That's not even close, honestly.
It might not be close to yours, but it is pretty close to one of mine. So I'm going to look further into that because I believe it begins way early with our kids. And if we want to reach and make a wonderful world for the next generation, family values that do have to do with sexuality and stuff is a big piece. So,
yes, no, and I agree with family values. I understand I'm not having any issue with the site. I'm just saying that that's not our focus at all. Our focus is, it's like that's a great site for people to go to for early education in orientation, sexual orientation, and proper etiquette and proper presentation in a family and in any kind of relationship. So, I mean, I don't have any problems with that. I wasn't saying that.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll be the one to say it, I guess, is that obviously it was Christian based, and therefore I don't think it applies to every family. If the family is not interested in Christian values, particularly, then it wouldn't be appropriate to ask for help from that type of organization, most likely.
Thank you, Ray. I agree with that. And when are you going to, do you have time available? Is there a special day, or are you able to schedule times in the evenings, mornings? What's good for you?
Well, do you have specific requests right now, or do you just need help kind of feeling out what they might be?
Well, my specific request at this time is I need assistance with the website. I have to finish these parental rights booklets, and then I'm planning on having them as tiles on the site for people to go to each state, whatever their state is. If you go down to the bottom of the page, you'll see a map of the United States, and each state has a button that you push on, and that goes to their state page. So that
I'm looking.
So that parents know where to go to see what their state says, and then broaden from there. That's the kind of exploration I'm looking at providing here.
Cool. Yeah. So did you have to align all those little icons by pixel or what?
I did them by I get a little image, and then I'd have to size it down and put it right there. And if I have to move the map, I move the map separately from the buttons. And, so I know some web design stuff, but I'm not a graduated web builder or anything like that.
You're doing great for somebody just figuring out as they go. You're doing great, and about getting the information out there more than it is making it perfect. So.
Well, thank you. And if we could connect on a private conversation, and just maybe when you have time, we could talk about some of the things that you might be able to help me with in making this site look more professional. That would be awesome.
Okay. I would definitely be glad to talk to you about that. And yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think of whether now is just the best time. I mean, if it is for you, I don't know.
I'm
If you want to stop recording, then you guys could still continue on this call and just not be recording it.
No, you're right,
Would
Misty.
you like?
But before we stop the recording, let me just put out there that we are still looking for parent advocates that want to share not only what they've been able to accomplish personally, but also to be able to help problem solve for parents in your state. So, we need, in each state, we need parent advocates that can help focus with the information provided on the coalition site and the links that we also provide. We provide links to parentalrights.org and to other organizations that provide some other legal assistance. And we're here to help, and we need more parental advocates to join us on our private network. This is a private network as opposed to Facebook, which gets broadcast everywhere. And so, a lot of parents have been broadcasting personal information about their cases while their cases is open and is being made public, and this gets them into a lot of trouble in their state. It causes them to lose parental rights faster and to get gag orders against them and all kinds of trouble. And so the point of putting together this private, it's an on-call service that we provide here with the parent advocates, so parents can ask for assistance and have somebody one-on-one communicate with them. And we need more of you out there. We need you to come and help. Parents are trying to commit suicide because they don't know what to do. They can't express themselves on public media, and they feel like they're caught in a corner. And so we're asking that you go to Coalition 4, that's the number 4, protection.com, and join us. There's a link at the top for Parent Advocate Login, and you can join us. And then just make sure that when you get the invitation from our server, which is TAWK.TO, that you follow the instructions and log in as a parent advocate. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lara.